Hi everybody, Grid21 back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about something that I don't sort of normally talk about on my channel. As you guys know, I usually do tutorial videos, software tutorial videos, things like that, maybe some computer stuff and everything. But I wanted to talk about something that I think is a little bit confusing on the internet, and there might be some misunderstanding. And I also think that there needs to be a video explaining how to use the Yamaha MG10XU mixer for a live streaming setup. And I know that this mixer has been out for a long time already, and there's been unboxing videos and, different things explaining about how the mixer works and, all this kind of stuff, but nobody has explained how to use this mixer for a live streaming setup, and also hasn't explained the cons of this mixer in a live streaming setup. So I'm going to actually just run through the board and explain what I did rather than what it was designed to do because, well, let's just go ahead and jump into it and explain. Okay, so this mixer is a USB mixer, okay? And for a while when I first got it, I was going out, so you can kind of just sort of imagine with me, there is a USB port in the back here of this board. I don't have an image of the back of the board, but trust me, there is a USB port. When I first got this mixer, I originally was doing a USB out into my computer for all of my channels for my live stream. Well, one of the things I noticed is a big issue with this board right off the bat is the fact that USB audio is just plainly quiet in general. And as you can obviously see, if I try to talk closer, I am almost really on my mic right here, but Windows, this is the line in for the not line in, this is the USB in for this Yamaha mixer, and as you can see, even though the volume is set to 100%, Windows still sees it as a really quiet input. So to combat that, a really easy way of doing it, and I've done some testing, did some talking with people like Epovox and a couple other people on the internet who are really savvy about this stuff. I ended up finding a different way of plugging this mixer into my computer. So what I did was instead was I'm using channel 1, which is what my Electro Voice RE320 is plugged into. I am then doing a stereo out and then doing let me bring it up again, a line in to the back of my motherboard with my volume set to around 80%. I'm also using a compressor. You can kind of see it in the back there. I'm using as a car goes by, thank you. I'm using a compressor behind me to help kind of squash some of the signal coming off the board, because you can see the meter's really running there. It's to make sure that I don't actually blow the input of my computer, and if I try to talk really loud or whatever, it will just squash my signal down. So the way that I'm adjusting my audio now is that I have my gain knob, I have my volume knob, and I have my stereo knob all right here. And this is the ideal configuration that I have found for this particular mixer. Now, the only thing that has started to bug me a little bit about this mixer is that there's actually no mute button, which, Yamaha, hello? Why is there no mute button on a mixer? That should be standard on everything. Sorry, I hate to sound like I'm sort of ranting, yelling, but I mean, there's literally no mute button at all. And the other issue with this is that because you have to run your levels, well, at least for me anyway, because I have to run my level and my gain and my stereo out so loud, I can't really do a computer in over USB because it will pick up literally everything in my office space. And furthermore, there seems to be a misconception about the USB in on this computer. So it's not an ideal mixer. It is good, but it's not ideal unless you're doing a band stream every night on Twitch or something like that. So this is kind of where this board sort of fails, honestly. There's no subgroups, which I know it's only a 10-channel board, but you could put a subgroup on a small board. I don't see it as impossible. But there's this misconception about the USB channel in particular, because it's line, and then you have the USB, button that switches between line and USB. And there's actually a weird janky thing with this stereo button, which is kind of weird. So this isn't exactly a ideal mixer. So let's clarify a couple things here. All right, first of all, starting with the USB channels 9 and 10, you can switch the mode of that channel for either acting as a line in from, like, say, if you had like a 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch adapter, you can switch it to a line plug-in, or you could have it as a line in with USB. Now, there is an interesting, and I don't know if this is a by design bug, whatever. I have noticed that even if this button is up, USB audio still comes in from the computer. Now, I don't know if it changes how, let me see something. If I hit this button, no, even if with the button up, there's still microphone input coming in off the stereo, or off the USB output of this board. And I've also read the misconception that raising the USB volume supposedly makes your audio louder in Windows, which it actually doesn't. So this board is kind of confusing, and I'm kind of surprised because Yamaha usually makes like really decent stuff. But to clarify, that USB dial does not affect how loud any other channel is going into the computer. I believe what Yamaha had intended was that it's how the channel operates, bringing audio into the mixer. Now, as for why it's still taking microphone audio out, even though I've pressed the button up, that I'm not too sure either. The other weird thing is that when you go to hit the 2 mono, 2 stereo button, I've noticed that now what happens is with this particular button, the 2 stereo and 2 mono button, when it's up, it doesn't send the USB audio to stereo, but rather only sends it to the headphones for self-monitoring. However, that can be bypassed actually if you turn up the effects knob, which sends it back into stereo, which makes, it's because of the way that the stereo channel, or the way the effects send and return is set up on the board. So this dial here is the send, this is the return. So if this button is, even if this button is up, it's still sending through the effects processor back down to the return and then back out to the stereo. And I've actually had it happen once where I was listening to some music with some friends, and I went to go turn up the reverb dial or whatever, the effects dial, and my friends on Discord could actually hear the audio even though the stereo knob was unpressed. So this is a rather funky kind of board, in all honesty. So I guess kind of like, you can use it for streaming, and I definitely would still use it for streaming if you don't have a lot of, I don't have a high noise floor in my office. I suppose I get away with, running all my game audio and stuff through, channels 9 and 10, but then you have all these other little funky issues about this board that are just either by design or by fault are there. So if you're going to be using this board for streaming and still want to, and I would still recommend it even as an entry level, like I would call this an entry level board in my opinion. I know Behringer has some stuff, but like they've got issues with their boards too. Like for example, if you change like the monitor / stereo, it like cuts your mic off, and there's these like weird janky things with it. This board would actually be still ideal for somebody who doesn't do a lot of voice chatting. Oh, and that's the other one. When you go to bring your computer in over channels 9 and 10, and if you're listening to it for yourself when your monitor channel here and you're doing that stereo out, people in Discord can actually hear your computer audio while you're talking to them, which makes me think to myself, Yamaha, why did you not put a subgroup in this? I just think that's kind of a really big downfall of a board that is designed, in my opinion, still very well. And one of the other strange things about this board is the effects send. Now, let's talk for a second about effects sends and returns. So generally, an effects send means when you turn up the effects send dial, it sends it out through, actually, I need to actually quick show this. When you turn up this dial here, it sends it to this dial here, but there's no effects return, which is what most mixers usually have. You actually have to bring it in through another line input, which can cause actually feedback, which is, again, very stupid. So it's like they crammed all these like ideas. This board kind of feels like a thrown together kind of a board, honestly. I know this is turning into more like a unfortunate like rant video, which I feel really bad about, but I'm trying to explain the fact that this is a good board, but let's clarify what things do and how they sort of work and such. If somebody in the comments understands why this board was designed this way, or even if Yamaha happens to see this, please let me know, because I'd like to understand why you designed it this way. But unfortunately, if you're going to do the effects send out of the effects send channel and bring it back in, expect to have some feedback. And I think as I remember doing, I think I was trying to do an effects send to here, and I brought it back here, tried to send it through an effects in the reverb to put a reverb in there, and it just squealed back in my ears. And I was using a compressor for this because I wanted to, I actually wanted my compressor to be an effects send and return, but you could only do the return through another line in on the channel. And also too, as you adjust the volume of this, is where also a lot of the feedback squealing has gone, hence why I'm doing the current setup now where I'm doing a stereo out off the board, doing a line, sorry, I'm trying to point to it, a line in to that compressor, which then there's a cable that goes back into my line in on my computer, which OBS then picks up. So yes, this is still a good board. Don't get me wrong. I think it is still a good board. I still think it's very useful for somebody that wants to use it for something. If you're going to be doing, if it's just going to be you, yourself, and I for playing games and stuff like that, I would still recommend this mixer. I would still say it's a good mixer. You could definitely do, your computer in. You could do like a, like an MP3 player into this mixer, which actually, where this board has actually really shined for me personally actually has been when I went to do my do the show The Morning Metro with my co-host. What I would actually end up doing is I would change my default playback device to the USB out, which would be, let me show you that one, which would be this here, which then my co-host now remember, when you do a default playback device to here, to this line here, it brings the computer into this channel here, and because I'm doing that stereo out, it actually routes back out into Discord because line in is my input for Discord. So it actually helped keep us in sync as co-hosts because he could hear the audio from whatever we were watching and I could hear it. And I would just do, fancy little mixing and things like that. And I would actually use my old Samsung GS4 as another audio source for our outro music. So if you're going to be doing podcasting, this board would actually be a little bit more ideal for you because it does allow for that channels 9 and 10 to go back out over stereo to either like Skype or Discord or whatever it is that you're using. That's where this board is really good for. However, if you're doing it for live streaming, it's still good, but it's going to be those, but keep in mind that if you're going to be voice chatting people, they're going to hear everything that you're pumping into that board, and it's not really ideal for that. So these are some of the pros and cons of this board. And one of the other things I end up having to do with this board as well is that because my dynamic microphone takes so much to drive, I actually had to get a mic cloud activator for this microphone, which is powered by the phantom power on this board here. So basically I've got an XLR going out, my cloudlifter is being powered by the phantom power, and then the input going in, like this isn't getting any phantom power, but the box is. because again, some of the preamps on this board it takes a lot to drive this particular microphone. Some microphones are just like that, some aren't. So I know it's kind of a lot to take in. I'm sorry if it ended up sounding like a bit of a ranting video. I want to kind of quick over again. So if you wanted to still use it for live streaming, you still could. You could just do a line in or a microphone in on whatever microphone you're using into channel 1. Just bring up your gain and your levels how you need, and then adjust your stereo how you need to, going out over stereo out to a line in to your computer for things like OBS or Discord to pick it up. And that is how you could use this board for live streaming. However, using for anything else, your mileage, as you know, as the saying goes, thanks Linus for this, your mileage may vary. But yeah, this is the Yamaha MG10XU in a nutshell. These are the things that people have not been talking about with this mixer. I really wish Yamaha could have made this mixer better, like adding a mute button, adding maybe like a sub out, or at least an aux out, if anything. Like if you couldn't fit a subgroup in there, at least put like an aux out that's separate from the stereo out, that you could do like a PC in, and like a piece, like a computer in over one of the line in channels, and then like a sub mix out to, that looks like a different device or anything. There's actually a board by Soundcraft where all the inputs through all the channels look like individual stereo inputs, which would be much more ideal for live streaming, because then you can separate all that audio separately. Or if you really want to spend for it, I know that Helicon Gaming came out with their Go XLR, which does a similar process, but I still like the board a little bit more by Soundcraft to some degree as far as how its mix goes. So that's really it. That's all I really wanted to talk about with this board. I just felt like it was really important that I should try to talk about it, my experiences with it, what I've learned about this board. If there were things that I was wrong, if I was like in error at any point at this video discussing this board, please go ahead and drop some comments down below in the comments section. And otherwise, come to my live streams and you can see this board in action and kind of hear a little bit what it's like in the live streaming setup. And I think that's really it. Other than that, please subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. And I guess as a classic saying, please like the video because it helps it show up in people's recommendations feed on YouTube, in case you're wondering. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And I will either see you again on YouTube or see you on my live streams at twitch.tv/grid21 or follow me at _grid21. Until then, catch you guys later. Have an awesome rest of your day. See ya.